Once upon a time, in the heart of the whimsical Whiskerwood, where mushrooms grew as tall as badger burrows, and the streams giggled over smooth, colorful pebbles, lived a little squirrel named Squeaky. Squeaky wasn't just any squirrel. He possessed the fluffiest tail in the entire wood, a nose that could twitch 100 times a minute, and a heart brimming with adventurous curiosity. But what truly set Squeaky apart was his profound love for sparkle berries. Sparkle berries were no ordinary fruit. They shimmered with an inner light tasted of sunshine and honey, and a single bite would send a happy tingle from the tip of one's nose to the end of their tail. One bright, sun-drenched morning, Squeaky awoke to a rumbling tummy and an insatiable craving for a delicious sparkleberry. He zipped down the trunk of his oak tree home, his tiny claws making a happy scritch-scratch sound. "Morning, Mama," he chirped. "You know it," Squeaky declared with a grin. "My tummy is demanding a sparkleberry breakfast." He scampered off, his fluffy tail bouncing behind him like a cheerful brown cloud. The path to the thicket was a familiar friend. He hopped over a line of industrious ants, waved to Beatrice the badger who was sweeping her doorstep, and even managed a quick game of peekaboo with a family of young rabbits. But upon arriving at the sparkleberry thicket, Squeaky's happy hum dissolved into a gasp of astonishment. The thicket was bare. Not a single, shimmering berry remained. The bushes that usually glowed with a soft, magical light were dark and desolate. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. Just then, a wise old owl named Professor Hoot landed silently on a branch above him. "A perplexing predicament, is it not, young Squeaky?" Professor Hoot hooted softly. "Professor, it's terrible." Squeaky squeaked, his voice full of woe. "The sparkleberries are all gone, every single one." This was a mystery, a real-life, honest-to-goodness Whiskerwood mystery. And Squeaky, with his adventurous heart, decided he was just the squirrel to solve it. "I'm going to find them, Professor," Squeaky declared, puffing out his chest. "I'm going to find the missing sparkleberries." Squeaky knew just who to ask. His best friend, a cheerful and clever beaver named Bubbles. "Bubbles! We have a crisis!" Squeaky exclaimed, nearly tripping over a stray pebble. Bubbles turned to him. "A crisis? Is it a wobbly tooth?" "Worse, much worse. The sparkleberries are gone." Bubbles' cheerful humming stopped. Her wide brown eyes grew even wider. "Gone? All of them? But how?" "That's what we need to find out," Squeaky said. "Will you help me?" Bubbles didn't hesitate. She slapped her flat tail on the water. "Of course, a mystery is just like a dam with a leak. You have to find the source of the problem. Let's go." Their first stop was back at the scene of the crime, the barren sparkleberry thicket. Bubbles, with her methodical mind, started examining the ground. "If someone took the berries, they must have left some clues," she said, her nose close to the earth. Squeaky, in his usual energetic fashion, zipped up and down the bushes, sniffing every leaf and twig. After a few moments of careful searching, Bubbles let out a small gasp. "Squeaky, come look at this!" She pointed a damp paw at a set of footprints in the soft mud near the edge of the thicket. They were not the familiar prints of a squirrel, a badger, a rabbit, or any of the usual Whiskerwood residents. "I've never seen footprints like these before," Squeaky said, his nose twitching with intrigue. "Me neither," Bubbles agreed. "And look at this." She pointed to a tiny, iridescent scale, no bigger than Squeaky's thumbnail, shimmering on a leaf. It glowed with a faint, magical light, just like the sparkleberries. "A scale," Squeaky whispered. "So the thief has scales and strange footprints." Their investigation was interrupted by a grumpy voice. "What's all this hullabaloo?" A badger can't get his beauty sleep with all this scurrying and whispering. It was Barnaby Badger, a notoriously grumpy but secretly soft-hearted resident of Whiskerwood. "We're sorry to disturb you, Barnaby," Squeaky said politely, "but we have a mystery on our paws. The sparkleberries have been stolen." Barnaby's grumpy expression softened for a fraction of a second. He was a big fan of sparkleberry pie. Stolen? All of them? By Jove, that is a serious matter. He peered at the footprint and the shimmering scale. Never seen the likes of that before. But if you're looking for someone who sees everything that happens in this wood, you should talk to Felicity the fox. Felicity was known for her sharp eyes and even sharper wit. She had a den on the other side of Whiskerwood, overlooking the entire valley. Squeaky and Bubbles thanked Barnaby and set off to find her. They found Felicity sunning herself on a warm rock, her magnificent bushy tail curled around her. She listened to their story with a sly smile playing on her lips. "So, the precious sparkleberries have vanished, have they?" she said, her voice as smooth as silk. "And you found a curious footprint and a shimmering scale. How very intriguing." "Have you seen anything unusual, Felicity?" Bubbles asked. Felicity stretched languidly. "As a matter of fact, I did. Late last night, when the moon was high, I saw a peculiar sight. A procession of tiny, glowing creatures, no bigger than my paw, marching towards the singing caves. They were carrying something that shimmered, much like your beloved berries." "The singing caves!" Squeaky exclaimed. The singing caves were a network of tunnels at the base of Whispering Mountain, known for the strange musical humming that echoed from their depths. Most of the woodland creatures found them a little spooky and tended to stay away. "Tiny, glowing creatures with scales," Bubbles mused. "That must be our culprits." With a new lead, Squeaky and Bubbles thanked the cunning fox and made their way towards Whispering Mountain. The journey was an adventure in itself. They had to cross the giggling stream, which was wider than usual after a night of rain. Bubbles, with her expert engineering skills, quickly constructed a sturdy little bridge out of fallen branches and woven reeds. Then, they had to navigate the tangled thicket, a dense patch of thorny vines. Squeaky, with his nimble agility, darted through the gaps, while Bubbles used her strong teeth to gnaw a clear path. As they got closer to the mountain, the air grew cooler, and the cheerful sounds of the forest were replaced by a low, humming melody. It was the song of the caves, a sound that was both beautiful and a little eerie. "Are you scared, Squeaky?" Bubbles asked, her voice a little quieter than usual. Squeaky, whose heart was beating a little faster than normal, puffed out his chest. "Scared? Of course not. This is an adventure, and we have a mystery to solve." But he stayed a little closer to Bubbles as they approached the dark entrance to the singing caves. The entrance was a gaping maw in the side of the mountain, and the humming sound was much louder now. Taking a deep breath, the two friends ventured inside. The cave was lit by a soft, ethereal glow, emanating from glowing moss that clung to the walls. The air was cool and smelled of damp earth and something sweet, something familiar. "I smell sparkleberries," Squeaky whispered, his nose twitching with excitement. They followed the scent and the humming sound deeper into the cave. The tunnel opened up into a vast cavern, and what they saw made their jaws drop. The cavern was filled with hundreds of tiny, lizard-like creatures with iridescent scales that shimmered in the glowing light. They had large, gentle eyes and were humming a beautiful, melodious tune. And in the center of the cavern was a huge pile of glowing, shimmering sparkleberries. Squeaky and Bubbles hid behind a large rock, watching in amazement. These weren't thieves. They were gardeners? Caretakers? The little creatures were not eating the berries. Instead, they were carefully placing them into a large, crystal-clear pool of water in the middle of the cavern. As each berry touched the water, it released a burst of sparkling light and a sweet-smelling mist that rose to the ceiling of the cave. The mist then seemed to be absorbed by a giant, sleeping crystal that hung from the cavern roof. One of the little creatures, who seemed to be the leader, noticed them. It had a particularly bright crest of scales on its head and approached them slowly, its large eyes full of curiosity, not malice. He led them to the edge of the crystal pool. The sparkle berries are the lifeblood of our home. They feed the heart crystal of the mountain, he explained, pointing to the giant, pulsating crystal above them. Greetings, little fur dwellers, it said, its voice a soft, melodic hum. You need not hide. We are the Glimmer Geckos, and we mean you no harm. Squeaky, feeling brave, stepped out from behind the rock. But you took all the sparkle berries? He said, his voice a little squeaky with a mix of accusation and confusion. The Glimmer Gecko leader smiled, a gentle, reptilian smile. We did not take them to keep. We borrowed them. Come, let me show you. He led them to the edge of the crystal pool. The sparkle berries are the lifeblood of our home. They feed the heart crystal of the mountain, he explained, pointing to the giant, pulsating crystal above them. The crystal, in turn, keeps the giggling stream flowing and the whiskerwood soil fertile. Without the energy from the berries, the crystal would dim and the magic of the wood would fade. Bubbles, with her practical mind, asked, "But why did you take all of them at once?" The Glimmer Gecko's crest drooped a little. The heart crystal was weaker than it has been in many seasons. We needed a large offering to restore its strength. We did not mean to cause distress. Squeaky looked at the pile of berries, then at the pulsating crystal, and then at the worried faces of the Glimmer Geckos. He understood now. We didn't know, Squeaky said softly. We thought someone had stolen our favorite treat just to be mean. The Glimmer Gecko leader nodded. Communication is a bridge between hearts, little squirrel. Just then, a small Glimmer Gecko chick, no bigger than Squeaky's paw, tripped and sent a small pile of sparkle berries rolling towards them. The chick looked up with wide, tearful eyes. Squeaky, without a second thought, scampered over, picked up a berry, and handed it to the little gecko. It's okay, he chirped. Accidents happen. Bubbles, ever the problem solver, had an idea. What if we helped you, she suggested. We can explain to the other animals, and we can all help to gather the sparkle berries. That way, the crystal gets what it needs, and there will still be enough for everyone to share. The Glimmer Gecko leader's eyes lit up. That is a most wondrous idea. A partnership. A friendship between the fur dwellers of the sunlit wood and the scale dwellers of the crystal caves. And so, a new alliance was formed. Squeaky and Bubbles returned to Whiskerwood, not as triumphant detectives, but as ambassadors of understanding. They gathered all the animals together and, with the help of Professor Hoot, explained the story of the Glimmer Geckos and the Heart Crystal. The next morning, a grand procession of Whiskerwood residents marched to the Sparkleberry Thicket. The berries were offered to the Heart Crystal, and as the sparkling mist rose, the crystal pulsed with a renewed and vibrant light. The giggling stream gurgled with more energy, and the very air of Whiskerwood felt fresher and more alive. The Glimmer Geckos, in their gratitude, shared the remaining sparkleberries with their new friends. Squeaky, with his adventurous heart, had discovered something far more valuable than berries: friendship. And as he nibbled on his well-deserved treat, he knew this was just the beginning of many more amazing adventures in the magical world of Whiskerwood. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful journey. If you enjoyed our fable, a like and a subscribe would mean the world to us and help us create even more stories for you to enjoy. We release a new fable every week and would love for you to be part of our growing family. See you next time, Fablekins!